how this can be integrated into everyday life in terms of movement, in terms of noticing how we are, how we're moving, how we're doing, how we're interacting with others. When are those moments when we are building
this dance or balance of something that I've been learning in like anti-racism work is this notion of white people pausing to listen, and how important that is for me to pause and to listen and to take in and to learn. And then there's a point where if that listening and that pausing is just going on and on without action, then it's like that discontinuity with the Feldenkrais lesson, right? So, but also there's another end of the spectrum, which is this thing about urgency and kind of action without thinking and without reflection and without intention, and where that can cause further harm. So there's some thing about timing. There's something about willingness to be imperfect and doing both, this pausing and listening and sensing for when is the moment when I can take a risk, or when is the moment when it feels right to speak, or when is the moment when I feel the impulse to speak, but I'm actually going to be curious to see what happens if I don't. And that's actually a kind of action too.
I really hear that, and again, it's I think this is where Feldenkrais really helps, because I will choose to do a lesson when I know I'm feeling that I need to find a way to move beyond my perceived sense of limitation. I will do a lesson because I know that in that lesson, I'm going to be up against the impossible, what is perceived to me as impossible. And that I will have this felt sense of what it is to be able to move beyond. And that, I come out of that not only with a sense of feeling better and balanced, but with a sense of, oh yeah, I get what Ruthie Allen talks about, biological optimism. Changes are challenging, and but in a lesson, that's all that we're doing. It's going to be new, it's going to be different, but it's safe. There's a sense of it feeling safe. There's a sense of being able to navigate this territory that is completely unknown, but for it to feel good and to have that real sense of this feels good, and being able to shift my attention in all these different places and have that sense of wholeness that comes over me. It feels good. And so for me, there is that sense of, doing a lesson, using it as a practice for when you come up against those moments in life. And don't get me wrong, I don't manage it all the time, but it is there. And I have absolutely used it a number of times and will continue to, in that particular way.
Mm-hmm. I really resonate with the wholeness, including the thinking, sensing, feeling, orientation in space, timing, all the different parts being in relationship to one another. So these relationships in space, in time, this multidimensional aspect of it, this directionality at the same time, and the kind of form that is invited, but then attention to the process. So the process, not the goal, shaping of it gives so much permission to find and include more and more of myself, which I think it is such a beautiful metaphor. Even as I'm saying the word include, it's like this inclusion of our whole selves, which I remember one of the first times I think I did the pelvic clock, or maybe it was, I'm not sure, somewhere in my training, I remember doing the pelvic clock and having this clear thought, feeling, constellation wave come over me that was like, imagine if everyone in the government did the pelvic clock, they would realize that they have a pelvis and that everyone else has a pelvis too. And it just, I have chills right now thinking about that, just how the concreteness of feeling your own pelvis moving in space, and how connected that is to our own humanity. How to, and this is, part of what brings us together, right? Is this making that bridge more explicit, because there's an implicit connection to humanity and wholeness that we experience in the lessons on our individual mats. And then what's the bridge for some of us, and at different times, right? I mean, for me, I went from being more of an activist to needing to go on my mat for 20 years, and really feel myself and realize that, okay, now it's time to come out again. And we all enter it from different places in the journey.
Yeah. And that's the power of us doing lessons together, isn't it? Also, because we are on our individual mats, having our internal sensations and revelations and connected upness, but we're also connected up with everyone else in that room.
Yeah, so there's this perhaps embedded connectedness in the pause. This, the connection between, one part and another part, but between one person and another person, between the moment and the next moment, this bridge. And the thing I'm thinking about too is sometimes it's not in words, describing like, okay, do this movement and then pause, but it's in the pacing and the timing of the words. It's in the quality of being also. Yeah, that self-care and co-care are really intertwined, for sure. That's one thing I love about this work. So it helps me tune in both directions, in the inward direction, the outward direction, and that loop.